I'd like to introduce two gentlemen for this session. The first is Mr. Karan Bajwa, who's the Managing Director of Google Cloud India. Karan Bajwa joined Google in March 2020 and is responsible for driving all revenue and go-to-market operations for Google Cloud's extensive solution portfolio that includes the GCP or the Google Cloud Platform, G Suite, and he's also responsible for Google Cloud's field sales, partner and customer engineering organizations in India. And he's also responsible for engaging the developer ecosystem and India-based global system integrators or GSIs. A senior leader with over 3 decades of leadership experience, Karan joined Google Cloud from IBM, where he served as managing director for India and South Asia. Prior to IBM, he worked with Microsoft for 9 years, his last role being the managing director for the company's operations in India. He has also worked with Cisco Systems in both in India and Singapore. So welcome, Karan. It's a pleasure to have you. On behalf of CII, I'd like to welcome you to this panel.
Thank you, Sharad.
Thank you. Has Rajesh Jani joined? Yeah, Rajesh is here. Yeah, I can see him. So the next person on our fireside chat is Mr. Rajesh Jani, who's Senior Vice President Global Alliances, Dell Technologies. He works closely with our current leaders to build a true alliances community in India across the entire organization. As the first ever senior executive based in India for Dell Global Alliances, Rajesh spearheads both the general governance across all GSI partners in India. Rajesh has been with the company for over a dozen years, and his most recent assignment was as President and Managing Director of the Enterprise Business in India. In his previous role, he was responsible for accelerating Dell EMC's growth in India and enhancing relationships with all the partners and alliances. An ICT industry veteran with over 35 years of experience, Rajesh has managed and led companies to leadership positions across diverse business segments, including IT, sales and marketing, services, channels, and enterprise. He has spent a total of 7 years with EMC. Prior to his current position, Rajesh has held several leadership roles in EMC, both in India and SAARC, Vice President, Enterprise Business India and SAARC, Head of Channels, and Vice President for Northeast and Bangladesh Business, amongst others. He started his career with HCL and held a number of senior management positions in NetApp, HP, Compaq, and Wipro. So thank you, Rajesh and Karan, for joining us today. I welcome you on behalf of CII. As you know, that we're going to focus on digital infrastructure. So the format is it's like a fireside chat. I will ask you both questions one by one, some common questions, and you can feel free, even if I ask Karan a question, if Rajesh wants to add something or vice versa, that's fine. So I'll begin with Karan. Okay. So India is still in its initial stage of mass cloud adoption. While most IT and companies have a cloud-first policies, however, the poor definition of compliance and security inhibits adoption of cloud in several organizations. How is Google doing? What is Google doing to overcome this? And what are all your innovations in this space? Name 3 standout use cases that you feel will drive cloud adoption in the coming days in India.
Okay, thank you, Sharad. Thank you very much for first inviting me, and good to be with Rajesh. I clearly see that I'm underdressed for the occasion relative to
I can take it out.
but I'll go ahead. Look here, your question's underlying point is about trust. And in my view, Sharad, trust is created through transparency and not just technology. Traditionally, organizations have looked to the public cloud for things like cost savings, for starters, or to augment private data center capacity. Many organizations see the move to cloud as something that creates risk and makes them less secure. On the contrary, at Google, we think of the opposite actually. We believe that moving to the cloud can actually help organizations improve their security, the risk posture, and that we can work with them to make all of that happen. Just from a global standpoint, the secure global platform that is built to run applications on the Google Cloud, to applications that collaborate in a very secure environment, protection of data with our collaboration suite, to a single console to easily manage users, devices, apps, to endpoints, etc. It's a pretty exhaustive end-to-end proposition that we bring to the table. As a pioneer, Google fully understands the security implications of the cloud. In fact, our cloud services are designed to I believe, deliver better security than many traditional on-premise solutions. We actually make security a priority to protect our own operations. As you know, that bulk of our services run on the same infrastructure that we make available to our customers, and hence your organization can actually directly benefit from those protections. I'll just give you an example, Sharad, from the very recent past. Google reported vulnerabilities such as Spectre and Meltdown, which had a very wide impact across industries. But on the same breath, Google was one of the first public cloud platforms to roll out fixes in our infrastructure to actually overcome these vulnerabilities with zero impact to customers. So we focus on security, protection of data as a primary design criteria in that sense. It's prioritized in the way we handle customer data, and it's the cornerstone of our account controls, compliance audits, and the certifications we offer. Also, in a day and age, Sharad, where data centers are being logically extended to the cloud, we support a very strong partner ecosystem with the likes of Cisco, F5, Juniper, Palo Alto, etc., to create a very familiar security parameters even on the cloud.
Dell too.
Dell as well, of course. Yes, thank you for reminding. I was just giving a sample in that sense. And in terms of your question about three areas, I believe the three areas that will drive greater cloud adoption as a result will be number one, productivity. It's going to reimagine the way teams work. Number two, agility. It's going to reimagine how you migrate and manage applications and infrastructure in a modernized world. And number three, about democratizing data insights, reimagining how decisions are made and empowering the end user. Those are three use cases in my view. Sharad, back to you.
Fabulous. What a great insight. Now over to Rajesh. So Rajesh, in the last few years, if you look at the way digital infrastructure has been consumed, whether it's storage, computer, network, there has been a certain rate of adoption. Obviously, we've had this crisis now. Do you think, what is your outlook, not only for the current year, but also for the future in terms of consumption of digital infrastructure going forward?
So before I start, so thank you, Sharad. Am I audible? I just want to check.
Yeah, very clear. Very clear.
Okay. Thank you for inviting me. And Karan, I'm overdressed because this is one opportunity after a long time that I got to get out of t-shirts and get into a jacket. So don't steal that thunder from me. Right? It's been a few months that we have been at home working like that. So, okay. So, Sharad, as you said, and while historically there have been inhibitions for enterprises to go onto cloud, but I think current period has got us into something called enforced innovation. I mean, working from home has become a reality. Learning and education has moved online. So there is probably, it has forced organizations to get onto a cloud-based kind of an architecture to deliver the experience that we have, that they have been wanting. So suddenly, leaders are looking at the efficacy of employees working from home. They're also thinking long-term, will they come back? Does everyone need to come back to office premises? Right? Learning and education, as I said, the way it has moved swiftly online. Had we tried it as a policy initiative, it would have taken probably a few decades to go. Suddenly it has moved online. And there is an opportunity now for us to see, is there a better way, or is this better for India to take this learning and education to interior parts of India, where we've always had scarcity of resources or teachers or anything. So various things are changing. I think next 2 years have forced upon, as I said, an accelerated innovation on the digital infrastructure space. So the expectations from technology are all the more high. So every user, every customer now is thinking, can I run any application on any device from anywhere on any cloud? So I think the expectations from technology are far higher. And therefore, I believe the rate of adoption of technology and digital transformation is going to accelerate a lot. And it will have to be, as you said, supported by the infrastructure needs underlying it.
Super. So that's great news for all of us. Next question to Karan is, Karan, we are seeing many enterprises and even mid-market firms have workloads on more than one cloud provider. So what is your perspective, on this, evolution of what we call as multi-cloud? Why is it that organizations are choosing more than one cloud, and how do you see this evolving going forward?
Sharad, you and I have been talking about this for so many months now. And I firmly believe that multi-cloud is the future. But it's also worth noting that the term multi-cloud can mean different things to different people. For some customers, multi-cloud just is leveraging different multiple public clouds at the same time, while others refer to it as using a public cloud in conjunction with traditional non-cloud systems. And while some others still mean multiple public clouds for different workloads at the same time. All these are viable and correct representations. Really depends on how you're looking at it. But let's think about why customers adopt multi-cloud strategies. I think it's primarily an attempt to increase agility, minimize vendor lock-in. I think in enterprises' mind, vendor lock-in has always placed a very strong, it has a strong influence in their decision making. In the on-premise world, they've always been thinking about vendor lock-in. They saw cloud as an opportunity. Now they're very, very clear. They want to make sure there is no vendor lock-in that happens. So proprietary nature of technologies, they want to stay away. And yet take best advantage of best-in-breed solutions on one versus the other, cost efficiencies, and increase flexibility through choice. Those are the reasons I believe. And again, this is a conversation we've been having. We've been at the forefront of this innovation with what we could now call as our Anthos platform, which is really a modern applications platform for both hybrid and multi-cloud environments. When we talk to customers with very extensive on-premise investments, they tell us that they want to take advantage of the cloud scalability, the innovative services, the geographic scope, but they're equally worried about getting locked in with the wrong provider. Why is it they ask? That they can still, why the question really they ask is, why can't I write once and run anywhere? And that is really where we've been deeply working with our platforms to let enterprises run applications unmodified on existing on-premise hardware as well as on other public clouds. We've not stopped there. Actually, if you just look back a few days in our recently ongoing global virtual summit now, it used to be a physical one, now it's a virtual one. We recently announced a very interesting capability where we are extending analytics to an enterprise data in other public clouds with things like BigQuery Omni. And it's again a very simple, flexible, multi-cloud analytics solution, which is powered by the same platform, Anthos, that enables you to analyze data from a single pane of glass across data sets in, be it Google Cloud, across AWS, and now coming soon on Azure as well. These are the kind of innovations that reflect many values that deeply resonate with us, including organizing information to its maximum utility, using the innovation velocity, if you will, and the freedom of open source software, which is again a key principle to how we think about it, and giving customers maximum access and decision-making power. What we are seeing is increasing momentum with both customers and partners to use more kinds of multi-cloud services. And we'll continue having future additions and improvements to enhance the platforms in really an open and a multi-cloud developer environment. If I look across customers, unquestionable, most customers, be it digital natives, traditional enterprises, are more and more moving towards a multi-cloud environment to get the best that they can. And how we facilitate is providing them the freedom of choice, if you will.
Karan, can I ask you one follow-up question on that?
Sure.
So right now you're absolutely right. We're seeing this multi-cloud happening, but do you think this will remain, or maybe at some point in time in future they will realize that it makes that they get better volume discounts with one player and they start selecting one of the multiple players that they use, or you think that this will remain the same way in the future as well?
My view, and I'm very strongly convicted that it is going to be a multi-cloud environment. Customers have gone over the whole cost chasm, if you will, in terms of choosing one provider versus the other, and yet there will be cost optimization. And cost optimization can be done in very crude ways like pricing, or in very efficient ways like architecturally addressing that, and how do you, in for example, our case, how do we use efficiently PVMs, etc. So I guess there are many ways to cut the cost angle, but it's about technology, and it's about making sure the customers are able to use the best of breed, that is, the capabilities available. And as a public cloud provider, it is our responsibility to make sure we allow customers that freedom and not sort of have a situation where somebody's locked in.
Excellent. Thank you. Rajesh, for you, since the topic is digital infrastructure, and you are one of the the forefronts of digital infrastructure technology, right? whether it's storage, whether it's compute, whether it's network, or whether it's the software like VMware, right? So, what are some of the innovations that Dell is doing in this space? Maybe you could highlight some of them for the audience.
Sure. And I think Karan spoke about the three key fundamentals that customers are going to cloud for, right? Productivity, agility, and democratizing through data, what is happening there, right? And therefore, the underlying infrastructure has to be lockstep with those requirements. And we believe that infrastructure is the digital foundation for delivering what is cloud like, because we believe cloud is an operating model, not a destination per se. So as long as we can provide an experience which is cloud-like, on-premise, off-premise, hybrid, multi-cloud, that's what customers are looking at. They're looking at a single tool set to manage the underlying infrastructure. And therefore, some of the design principles we adopt and adapt in our infrastructure designs are A, they are data centric. That is, any workload, any kind of scale up, scale out, they are intelligent, they are adaptable. The second, as I said, they are intelligent. That means the infrastructure should be able to ease the deployment for an administrator or a cloud deployer or anybody else. It should require an engineering PhD to deploy where do I and create all those earlier days that we used to do. It has to be adaptable, that it has to be container based. It should allow modern applications to run as well as traditional applications to run as well. It should become an application rewrite all over. Most importantly, it should have security built in, right? It cannot be a bolt on. And these are 3-4 things that we look at: data centric, intelligent platform, adaptable architecture, and security built in. And basis last few weeks, we have gone ahead and refreshed our entire mid-range storage, data protection, our own scale out storage, and I'll speak about the partnership with Google in a bit, our own VMware single pane of glass management, and our own Dell Technology Cloud services that we offer. So overall, the focus on infrastructure has been to make sure it is the digital foundation and it provides and enables a cloud-like experience for all of the customers as well. HCI, as we spoke earlier, has played a key part in the initial phases. It's now become mainstream. Hybrid converged infrastructure is the mainstream thing.
Okay, excellent. Yeah. Thank you so much. So, Karan, next question to you. As skills needed to manage cloud infrastructure become more advanced, right? People have to have expertise in various cloud technologies, in Anthos, and they're supporting Google Cloud, and all so many different cloud technologies, right? They become more and more complex. How can managed services help accelerate the cloud journey for a business?
Actually, contrary to what some people think, I think services applies even more in a cloud environment. If you just move beyond the opportunistic or very tactical approaches to public cloud adoption, it actually increases the likelihood of drawing upon a much broader range of managed services provider capabilities. Both professional services as well as managed services are very essential in my view for a cloud adoption. And of course, if you look at professional services, that is particularly for when you are going for transformative engagements, when it's just not just about lift or shift, or it's way beyond lift and shift. Professional services play a much important role. I think enterprises use managed services providers to really help build, improve efficiency, think about reducing risks in cloud adoption. They also use them to reduce time to market, which is very important in these migrations. Including helping with innovation, etc. My view personally, strong services expertise, and again, this is one conversation we've been constantly having about enhancing services expertise across in the ecosystem, I think is one of the most important factors in determining an appropriate provider. So either it's the provider alone providing it, or is the provider plus the partner, which is more the case in our side, in our ecosystem. So it's really important. If you look at any suitable, if you look at a classic definition of a managed services provider for public cloud, can actually help starting from solution design, migration of workloads efficiently, and really achieve the primary purpose why customers do this, which is to, beyond lift and shift, it is to really achieve a cloud-enabled transformation. Also, accelerating the maturity of a cloud services delivery by using automation tools, for example, to to commence, scale, and optimize different aspects of your operations. Really balancing the value brought by the MSP with the potential exit scenario requirements and avoiding MSP lock-ins. Again, that's an important point because of these dependencies is the right way forward for enterprises who have decided on a cloud-first strategy. So I believe that getting the right provider, getting the right services capability is as important as a decision on the cloud platform as well.
Excellent.
Maybe, Sharad, with your permission, maybe I want to add on to what Karan said. Having worked with, last 1.5 years, my role has been working with these partners, largely dependent on services globally. And I can add to what Karan says. If you look at NASSCOM report itself, IaaS ACVs in September, they reported, have doubled year over year. That means most of the large IT software companies are winning projects globally, which are around transforming customers from a locally proprietary architecture to cloud and cloud-like on hybrid kind of a thing. So the services have a very large play for partners. We see a similar thing happening with our partners as well. The transformational initiative of transforming from legacy application, legacy hardware to cloud-ready infrastructure and cloud is driving a lot of services for the partners that we work with, including NTT.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you. So now, Rajesh, going to you, and I am sure Karan will also respond to this. How is Dell collaborating with Google in the area of digital infrastructure and innovation?
Very good. So I'll first talk about what is our strategy around cloud. So Dell Technology Cloud combines the power of VMware and Dell Technology infrastructure to provide a consistent operating model, basically consistent infrastructure, consistent operation, consistent services, right? And that's what we believe in, the fact that it's an ecosystem play. And what it does is it creates a hybrid cloud, which allows customers a single pane of glass to manage. So you can be connected to Azure, AWS, GCP, as we announced recently, and do that. With Google, it has gone one more step further. Today, Dell Technologies Cloud, OneFS for Google Cloud, it's a file storage services available on Google Cloud through a single management console called Google Cloud Console. And one can pay for it through Google Marketplace. So you could technically, Sharad, let's say you wanted to buy a file storage infrastructure from us. Instead of doing that, you could go to Google Cloud, to the marketplace, look for Dell Technologies Cloud OneFS for Google. It's available in the marketplace. It's what's important that it is provided, the services, the enterprise grade services are provided by us. So we ensure the enterprise grade services, the flexibility, agility, and everything of the commercial construct of the Google Cloud, and you could source it without having to deploy it on your premises. So that's the key thing that we have just launched. And we are pretty excited about what possibilities it brings. The fact is, file or the unstructured data is growing more than the structured data all across the world. And this is the power that we bring, current team and everything.
Excellent.
And I'd like to just quickly add to that. I think he's given a wonderful example of how we are collaborating. You get the best of the capability from Dell and you interface with Google. Now, there's another very important aspect. So contrary to what most public cloud providers would want to like to see and believe that customers will rush to the public cloud, I would say the story is different. As I said earlier, there are customers who want to get the hyperscaler capabilities while they retain their workloads on premise for whatever reasons. And then again, the partnership with Dell, where we bring in the capability of the hybrid platform, the Anthos capability on premise. That is another aspect of the partnership that we are very bullish about with Dell as a partner.
Excellent. And also what we are doing is we're using the vCloud Health, which is their multi-cloud insight platform, to actually look at even managing Google Cloud. So, that's another area of interaction between the two. That's excellent. So another common question for both Rajesh and Karan. I'll start with Karan. Now, you know that the hybrid cloud, you just alluded to the hybrid cloud approach, right? Is truly attractive for enterprises in India. They already have existing investments. They want to, burst into the cloud, or for whatever, for multiple reasons. As you said, there could be some compliance requirement where they're not, let's say banking may not be very comfortable with putting everything on public cloud on day one. Maybe it'll evolve over a period of time. So how would you guide them, the enterprises to adopt this hybrid cloud approach? What would be your key recommendations to them?
I think the best way to answer this, let me step back a little bit and first let's see that the two big audiences for tech companies and customers, CIOs and CTOs, what do they actually deliver for their company? If you say technology, my view is that's just the beginning now. There was a recent report by McKinsey, I believe, that said that 85% of CIOs and CTOs who were interviewed in 2019 said that they were essential for at least 2 to 3 of the most common CEO priorities: revenue acceleration, agility improvement, time to market, of course, cost reduction. So I believe IT modernization strategies, which include just the way you said, a hybrid cloud, they are key to business growth and agility. That's the essence of providing it. And yet, 80% of CIOs report that regardless of their level of cloud migration, they still haven't reached their projected agility and business benefits. Sometimes I believe this is because of issues like training, skill gaps in the IT workforce. And surprisingly, the barrier to reaching these goals is based on the trade-offs that the CIOs themselves feel they need to make to strike a balance between the perfect and the possible, if you will. Trade-offs like developer agility versus control and governance, single vendor benefits versus freedom from lock-in, best of breed tools versus standardization and familiarity. So, what if you could have done, all of this without the trade-offs? And that is why, again, go back to say that building that capability with the platforms that we have on open source components like Kubernetes, Istio, Knative, and that platform capability with Anthos gives you the business, the choice that you need, and with the ability to create code that works in most environments using the tools, languages, and systems you prefer. It's important that the freedom of choice is retained by the decision makers and the customer while they harness the capabilities and actually go around meeting the goals that their CEOs push them for.
Rajesh, you'd like to add something on the hybrid cloud approach? Rajesh, I can't hear you. You're on mute.
Is this okay? Yeah, I was on mute. I'm sorry. So as Karan alluded to, hybrid cloud removes the complexity from the environment of the customers because they are managing multiple public clouds, private infrastructure, edge locations, etc. And as I said, so Dell Technologies Cloud, what we have built with VMware and Dell infrastructure, it provides a consistent operating model and a single operational hub and helps remove silos. Very similar to what Karan said. So you could connect to any public cloud, manage the private infrastructure, manage silos across with a single operational hub. As you spoke about, you're using the tool to manage the GCP, but the tool is flexible enough to also manage various public clouds. Again, it's a choice and flexibility with the customer, but the fact remains, it's a multi-cloud world, right? There will be certain applications which will be ready to move to cloud. There will be certain legacy applications which are difficult to move to cloud, either because the way they were written or the requirement of the security and other things, or for whatever reason, customers want them to retain on-premise. So there has to be a single way of operation, right? And that's why we say cloud is more an operating model rather than a destination that we're looking at. And hence, hybrid cloud is the way to go.
Excellent. So that was a great discussion. I think we covered a lot of interesting topics. I think a lot of the data center colleagues would benefit from both what Karan and both Rajesh said. Whether it was about multi-cloud, whether it was about security and the perception of security, whether it was about skills needed for managed services, whether it was the innovation on digital infrastructure by Dell that Dell talked about, and and about the hybrid cloud approach. Any closing thoughts before before we wrap up? I just maybe 1 minute each. Anything you want to say? Happy to have both of you. Maybe Karan and Rajesh, you can just say one closing thought each, and then we can wrap up.
I sort of, I've been on many discussions over the last 3 to 4 months. And while this closing comment may not relate to the theme as such, I believe that this crisis while it has very unfortunate dimensions, yet has a silver lining in terms of the acceleration it has given organizations to embrace digitization. The pace of digitization, I don't know, there are many varying measures of that. I think it's simply gone multifold in these 4 months. And a lot of our assumptions have been debunked, if you will, that we had come around to believing. The biggest opportunity for us is to, as we come out of this unfortunate situation, not to waste the crisis, to actually take the learnings that we have from these 3 months and reinvent our ways of working. And the second thing I would call out to the broader tech community is that the time now is to evolve from buying technology to fundamentally changing it to partnering for technology. Given the fact that your technology surface area is going to significantly increase, and we've seen that, the time now is to partner for technology versus buying traditionally the way that we have in the past. So that would be the way I'll close, Sharad.
Thank you. And Rajesh, any final thought from your side?
Yeah, thank you. I started off by saying it's a period of enforced innovation where digitization just got, or digital transformation just got accelerated, right? More importantly, what I wanted to say was, in this evolving world, in this ever-changing world, it's always better to work with the ecosystem of partners. And that's the approach we have taken as a company, of working with service providers like you, working with cloud service providers like Karan's company, as well as a few others. And I think, as Karan said, it's all about partnering now. Because what the customers need to focus on are outcomes, rather than trying to put the pieces together and make it work at the lowest possible cost. Lowest possible cost may not be cost out. It may be adding more cost in managing, running, etc., etc. Right? So it's partnering, and it's helping deliver outcomes and deliver to CEO expectations rather than delivering infrastructure expertise.
Thank you so much, Karan and Rajesh. Very, very enlightening session. I think the conference so far has been talking about co-location, large-scale, hyperscale data centers, incentives from the government. But I think it's very refreshing to see what goes inside data centers, the digital infrastructure that powers data centers, and how enterprises and customers will benefit from all the innovation that your two companies are doing. Thank you once again. It is a pleasure on behalf of CII. I'd like to thank both of you for spending your very valuable time and enlightening the audience with your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.